Hi guys, my name is Emma Tobias, and this is my January wrap-up. I decided this year that I wanted to do wrap-up videos. I wanted to do them last year, but what happened was this. I was trying to make my videos aesthetically pleasing, and it was too much pressure, so I quit. But this year, my aesthetic is that I don't have an aesthetic, and that is what I'm going for. So I'm going to start making wrap-up videos. I quite enjoy wrap-up videos. I like things in nice little boxes. Nothing else in my life can fit in a nice little box. Marie Kondo would not be pleased. No, she wouldn't care because she just wants everyone to just be happy. Anyway, overall it was a pretty good reading month, and I'm excited to talk about books with you. First, though, I thought I would share something that happened this month as a way to, further you guys to get to know me, and also for me to share my trials and tribulations and shame. This month, really a garden shed moment, was when I was out with my friends, and my best friend brought her new boyfriend, who I've met before, and I mistook him for his best friend. So, let's get into it. I read 6 books this month. It was a pretty good reading month. There's a few days left in January, but I don't think I'll finish anything else this month. So, yes, the first book I read this year was So Sad Today by Melissa Broder. This is a collection of essays, personal essays about mental health, sexuality, life, grief, relationships. It's a very biting, incredibly honest book. At times I was very uncomfortable reading it, but I did appreciate Melissa Broder's honesty so completely. I would say this book isn't for everyone. If you are sensitive about certain things, or you have certain triggers, especially with like sexual assault, sexuality, sex, violence, grief, death, this is not maybe the book for you. It was quite intense to read, but all in all, I really appreciated it. It's weird. After I read it, I super duper loved it. It's a weird thing to say. I super duper love this book that's pretty depressing. But I really did. I read it in one day, like the first day of January. And so it was like a good way to start the year, to be self-reflective and thinking about things like that. But it was interesting because now that I think about it, it really hasn't stuck in my memory too much. Like, there are certain essays within the collection that I remember pretty well, but all in all, it really didn't stick with me. I think for me, like, not to compare two books about mental health written by women, but I really love Jenny Lawson's book, Furiously Happy. It's one of my favorite books of all time. And that book talks a lot about mental health in a way that really super resonated with me. So this was like, it resonated with me, but not as deeply. So I think maybe that's why I'm not remembering it as much. It also could be the fact that I read it very quickly on my phone in like a fury. And so that maybe is part of it. The next book that I read this month was My Sister the Serial Killer by Olenkan Braithwaite. I believe I'm pronouncing that name right. I did look up an interview with her. But I really enjoyed this book. It is a very fast read. It's almost like a novella with how fast it is, although I don't really know the difference between a novella and a novel. Someone tell me. I have an English degree and I still don't really know. This is a kind of short comedic thriller, sort of. It kind of defies genre. It's basically about two sisters. One of the sisters is murdering her boyfriends, and the other sister, who's kind of the good sister, is covering it up for her and with her. And it's told through the non-murdery sister's point of view, who is funny and pretty like serious-minded. It's like if like I don't know how to describe this book. This book is like if a thriller had a sense of humor in a very weird, funny, funky way. There's not a lot of things that are actually thrillery about it besides the murdery stuff. There's no like super intense plot or like some detective trying to necessarily figure it out. You're just mostly getting this internal monologue of the non-murdery sister and just her trying to figure out like her morals in the situation and how she feels. It's honestly more of a story about two sisters than it is a thriller. I'm just like thinking about what this book is while I'm talking about it right now. Can you tell I don't script my videos? All in all, I really enjoyed it. It sat with me for the last month or so since I read it at the very beginning of the month. I really love the writing style. It's really beautifully written and very short chunks. So it's like the chapters are maybe like a page or a page and a half, or like up to like 10 pages. I tend to like that writing style and that format because it just keeps me really interested and like I want to keep reading. I would totally recommend this, and if you are on the Libby app, this book is on the Libby app, so I would 100% give it a read. I really enjoyed it a lot. Oh, I should probably say my rating. So Sad Today I gave 4 stars to, although I don't really believe in ratings. And then My Sister the Serial Killer I also gave 4 stars to. Although So Sad Today, maybe I'm gonna bump down to 3, just because it didn't really do it for me after I thought about it too much. The next book that I read was The Almost Sisters by Jocelyn Jackson. This is a literary fiction novel that I got in one of those blind date with a books at my local independent bookstore, and those are some of my favorite things to do because I always find books that I like would never have picked up, which is the point. But The Almost Sisters is about this woman named Leah Leah is a comic book writer and illustrator. She's like kind of cult famous for this this very feminist comic book that she did when she was in college. She ends up becoming pregnant from a one night stand at a comic book convention, and during the same time her beloved grandmother, who's from Alabama, starts to, basically it's revealed that she has a form of dementia that she has been hiding, and the sister, Leah, has another sister. So many sister books this month. Leah has a sister who is her stepsister, who's like going through a rough patch with her husband, and basically all of them end up in Birchfield, Alabama, trying to deal with what's happening with Leah's grandmother. And Leah, wow, I cannot get this woman's name right. Leah's grandmother. The Almost Sisters is really good, and I didn't expect it to be. I kept hearing when I was looking on Goodreads that it was chicklet, which is such a derogatory term, obviously. This is not even like women's fiction. It's very much a Southern gothic in a way. It is super well written and very visceral and interesting, and I think at times this book really soars. The sister relationships in this book are really interesting and layered. The way that family is talked about is very interesting and layered, and the way that Jocelyn Jackson writes about place is really well done and beautiful. It feels like you're in this little tiny town in Alabama. It feels like To Kill a Mockingbird in terms of like the setting, and maybe it's just because they're both set in Alabama, but in that way, like, it's very visceral. But nothing in this book is like horribly problematic that I remember, and that's something I really always think about when I read literary fiction, especially, and this I would consider more like general fiction, literary fiction, is that it can like try to do something smart and then end up just like being problematic. Overall, I really did like this book, and I read it pretty slowly, which is, again, why it probably sits with me so well, but I did like it a lot, so I gave it like 4 stars. I'm such a 4-star woman. Give everything 4 stars. My life, 4 stars. LOL, it's 2 stars. The next book that I got, well, I'm doing a book haul now, which is funny. This would be in a book haul if I was going to do one. This book, my lovely friend Savannah from Sarcasm Potato sent me, and that's The Prince and the Dressmaker by Jen Wang. This is a graphic novel. I'm sure that you've heard about it because I know it was pretty popular in BookTube a while back, but The Prince and the Dressmaker is about a prince who likes to dress up as in drag, basically. So there's a lot of conversations about gender in this book. Nothing is like overtly stated, like this person's gender fluid, this person does drag, like you don't really 100% know what's going on. But the main character, I guess, is this girl who's a dressmaker, and she's the one who starts making dresses for the prince, and they end up falling in love. I'm assuming, yeah, I mean, it basically is a love story. This is a super cute graphic novel, and I really liked it. I really love the illustration style. It's a lot like Lucy Nicely, who's my favorite graphic artist. It's so pretty and cute, and it made me really happy, and it's a book that I think I would reread again. I gave it 3 stars, and I kind of said this in my Goodreads review. It's very rare for me to give a graphic novel more than 3 stars because I tend not to, for whatever reason, even though I love art, I love the visual medium, tend not to connect with them as much. Like, I'll really enjoy reading it, but it just doesn't really, like, gut punch me. I love graphic memoirs. It's like the opposite with graphic memoirs. Those tend to be some of my favorite books. But graphic novels just tend not to hit me as hard. But I did really enjoy this, and I thought it was really sweet. And I love owning graphic novels. Even if I didn't necessarily love them, I still like to have them because I like looking at the pictures and getting inspiration. Next, oh my god, you're gonna be like, another person reread this book, and that is Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. I read the whole Grisha trilogy a really long time ago, like 2014. So after I heard about the TV show and everyone was doing it, I was like, this sounds fun. Like, this is positive peer pressure. So myself and Savannah from Sarcasm Potato read this together in a buddy read. And let me tell you, it was super fun, and I still really enjoyed it. I remember just, like, flying through these books when I was younger. And as someone who doesn't read a lot of fantasy, like, I really enjoyed them, and I enjoyed this. The whole Darkling Mal and Nikolai debate is so interesting to me. I compared it to Gilmore Girls on Twitter. Like, the Darkling is Jess, Mal is Dean, and Nikolai is Logan. It's not a great, perfect metaphor, but I actually really like Mal. I like the trope of, like, a girl who is kind of unnoticed, and then she, like, one day, like, the guy notices her. I just like that trope. I think it speaks to me. And then Mal, yeah, not Mal, the Darkling, yeah, he's hot, but, like, he ain't gonna keep me warm. But yeah, I enjoyed this, and I'm gonna reread the whole series. I'm gonna try to read King of Scars when it comes. I'm gonna read it, but I'm not gonna be able to read it when it comes out because I will not have finished rereading these books, and I will not know what is happening because I do not remember the third book at all. And then finally, the last book I read is a second book in the Bride Quartet series by Nora Roberts, and that's Bed of Roses. This follows Emma, who is the florist. If you don't know what the series is about, I talked about the first book in my favorites video. It's basically about 4 best friends, childhood best friends, who own a wedding business together, and each of them does a different job. So Emma in this book is a florist. She's this, like, very beautiful woman who does flower things, and she's very sweet, and she's described as very sweet and, like, the nice one in the group. And she ends up falling in love with Jack, who is another not really childhood friend, college friend. He's, like, the friend of one of the people's brothers. I don't know, it's complicated. She falls in love with him, and in the first book, which I loved so much, you have an issue, like, their, like, main conflict is the girl in that book doesn't want to commit, like, she's afraid of commitment, and this one, Jack, is afraid of commitment. So this one wasn't as good as the first one. I had some problems with it. I did like the fact that Emma was very sex positive. She's a woman who enjoys sex. She, like, isn't shameful of it. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. But I did not really like Jack all that much. I thought he was kind of a jerk, and he also just, like, had not a lot of redeeming qualities. I didn't feel their chemistry a lot in this book. Like, I felt the chemistry in the first book, but this one I was like, I get this because they're both hot, and they're like, we're both hot. I don't know. It, like, didn't do it for me. Also, there's so many weird jokes in this book that weren't in the first book. So, like, there's definitely some, like, weird fat phobia in this book that I didn't really see in the first book. There's a lot of times that, like, the phrase, like, slave is used, like, oh, you're enslaving me, or, like, I don't know, I don't really like that word. It's just, there's some, like, very dated things that happen in this book, like some sexism, some just dated stuff. And this book was written in, like, 2009, so it was about 10 years ago, and you can tell, like, it has that quality about it where nothing is incredibly egregious, but it's still, like, I don't know. I didn't really like it all that much. It's like a 2-3 star book for me. But I do definitely want to read the next book because it's, like, my favorite trope. It's that guy doesn't notice girl, then guy notices girl trope. So I'm excited about it. But yeah, that's my wrap up. This was long, and I'm sorry. But I'm just trying to do me in 2019, you know what I mean? So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you've read any of those books. I'd love to know if you have thoughts. Anyway. Bye.